After years of manipulation, my husband's parents showed up with a contract and said, "Sign this. We'll control your assets, just in case." My husband whispered, "It's just a formality." I smirked, pulled out my own paperwork, and said, "Then you won't mind signing mine first." Their eyes widened when they saw what it was. I never thought my life would take such a turn, but here I am, sharing this story with you all. It's been a whirlwind, and I need to get it off my chest. So, a bit of background. My name is Sarah, and I've been married to my husband, Jake, for about 7 years now. We live in a cozy suburb in Ohio, and for the most part, things have been good between us. However, there's always been this underlying tension when it comes to his parents, especially his mother, Diane. From the very beginning, Diane has been, let's say, overbearing. She has this way of inserting herself into our lives, making decisions for us, and just generally acting like she knows best. Jake always brushed it off, saying, "That's just how she is," but it's been a constant source of stress for me. Over the years, there have been countless incidents. Like the time she redecorated our living room while we were on vacation because she thought it needed a woman's touch. Or when she invited herself on our anniversary trip because she didn't want to be left out. But the straw that broke the camel's back happened just a few months ago. Jake and I had been discussing our finances and future planning. We're both in our early 30s, and with the way the world is going, we wanted to make sure we were setting ourselves up for a secure future. We decided to meet with a financial advisor and start getting our affairs in order. Somehow, Diane caught wind of this. One evening, she and my father-in-law, Robert, showed up at our doorstep unannounced. This wasn't unusual for them, but what they brought with them was. Diane was holding a stack of papers and had this smug look on her face. "We need to talk," she said, pushing past me into the house. Robert followed silently, avoiding eye contact. Jake and I exchanged glances, both confused and a bit apprehensive. We followed them into the living room, where Diane spread the papers out on the coffee table. "What's all this?" Jake asked, picking up one of the documents. Diane clasped her hands together, her eyes gleaming with self-importance. "It's a contract. We want you both to sign it. It grants us control over your assets, just in case something happens to you. It's for your own protection." I felt my blood pressure rise. "Excuse me? You want us to sign over control of our finances to you?" She nodded, as if it was the most reasonable thing in the world. "Yes, dear. It's just a formality. We want to ensure that everything is handled properly. You know, in case of emergencies." Jake looked torn. "Mom, I don't know about this. Sarah and I have been handling things just fine on our own." Diane's expression hardened. "Jake, we're your parents. We only want what's best for you. You can trust us." I couldn't hold back any longer. "With all due respect, Diane, this feels like an overstep. Jake and I are adults, and we've been managing our lives without issue." She turned to me, her eyes cold. "Sarah, you don't understand how these things work. We're just trying to help." I took a deep breath, trying to keep my composure. "If it's just a formality, then you won't mind signing something for us first." Diane's eyes narrowed. "What do you mean?" I stood up and walked over to the desk in the corner of the room. I pulled out a folder containing documents I'd been working on for a while. I had a feeling something like this might happen, given Diane's history. I handed the folder to her. "This is a mutual agreement. It states that while we appreciate your concern, Jake and I will maintain full control over our assets and decisions. It also outlines boundaries regarding involvement in our personal affairs." Diane's face turned red as she flipped through the pages. "This is ridiculous." Robert finally spoke up, his voice quiet. "Maybe we should discuss this calmly." But Diane was having none of it. "I can't believe you would do this to us, Jake. After everything we've done for you." Jake looked at me, then back at his parents. "Mom, Dad, we love you, but Sarah and I need to live our lives on our own terms. We can't have you interfering in this way." Diane stood up abruptly, gathering her papers. "Fine. If that's how you feel, don't expect any help from us in the future." With that, she stormed out of the house, Robert trailing behind her. Jake and I sat in silence for a moment, processing what had just happened. "I'm sorry," he finally said. I should have set boundaries a long time ago. I squeezed his hand. It's okay. I'm just glad we're on the same page now. Since that day, things have been tense with his parents. They've kept their distance, and while it's been a relief in some ways, it's also sad. Family dynamics are complicated, but at the end of the day, Jake and I need to prioritize our relationship and our future. I never imagined things would come to this, but sometimes you have to stand up for yourself, even if it's difficult. A few weeks passed after the contract incident, and things were quiet. Too quiet. Diane wasn't texting Jake 10 times a day anymore. No surprise visits. No guilt-tripping phone calls. Just silence. Jake told me it was probably for the best. Maybe they're finally backing off, he said one night while we were eating dinner. I nodded but didn't believe it. Diane was many things, but someone who gave up control easily? No way. Turns out I was right. Out of nowhere, we started getting strange calls. First, our mortgage company called to confirm some updates to our account. Updates we hadn't made. Then, our financial advisor emailed us asking about a power of attorney document supposedly signed by Jake. That document gave full financial control to Diane. Jake was furious. I never signed anything like that. What the hell is going on? We went straight to our advisor's office the next day. He pulled out a scanned copy of the form that had been sent in. And there it was, Jake's name, signature, and all. Except, the signature was wrong. I knew my husband's handwriting like the back of my hand. This was close, but off. Sloppy. Fake. They forged your signature, I said quietly, holding back a surge of anger. They're trying to go around us. The advisor looked uncomfortable. It's not unheard of, unfortunately. But we'll block any changes immediately. We spent the next 2 hours making sure all our financial records were locked down tight. Password changes. Account alerts. New verification steps. It was exhausting, but necessary. Jake was pale by the time we got home. She really forged my name, Sarah. My own mother. I didn't know what to say. I just hugged him. And then it got worse. That weekend, we got served. Yep, served. A sheriff showed up at our door with a thick envelope addressed to Jake. Inside? Legal papers. Diane and Robert were suing for conservatorship. Their claim? That Jake was mentally unfit to manage his finances and that they needed to step in for his protection. I read the papers 3 times, each word stabbing deeper. According to them, Jake had been struggling with mental health issues and was easily manipulated by his spouse, aka me, and it was in the best interest of the family for them to take control of his financial assets. Jake sat on the couch, frozen. I don't even know what to say. They're trying to legally take over your life, I said. This isn't just about control anymore. This is war. We lawyered up immediately. Our attorney, Susan, was sharp, no nonsense, and pissed off on our behalf. They have no case, she said after reviewing everything. But they're hoping to scare you into a settlement. That's all this is, a power play. She filed a countersuit within days. Defamation. Fraud. Attempted identity theft. We weren't playing games anymore. But Diane didn't back down. Instead, she went public. She started talking to anyone who would listen. Jake's cousins. Old family friends. Even people at our church. She told them all that Jake was sick, that I was controlling, that we were hiding something and refusing help. We lost friends. People stopped inviting us to events. We'd walk into places and feel the stares. I even overheard 2 women at the grocery store whispering about how he used to be such a nice boy. It was like being trapped in a slow-moving nightmare. Jake stopped sleeping. I started checking the locks every night twice. We were being cornered, emotionally and legally. Then one day, Jake's sister, Mandy, called me. We hadn't talked in years, not since Diane accused me of turning her children against her. Mandy's voice was shaky. I need to talk to you. Not Jake. Just you. I agreed, cautiously. We met at a diner halfway between our houses, a tiny place off the highway with sticky menus and weak coffee. Mandy looked tired, older than I remembered. She slid a folder across the table toward me. I found this in Mom's safe. You need to see it before the hearing next month. Inside were printed emails, notes, copies of bank statements, and a diary. It was Diane's diary. I skimmed the entries. The woman had been plotting this for years. Ever since Jake and I got engaged. She'd been documenting our poor decisions, making a case, literally building a paper trail to use against us someday. I didn't know it was this deep, Mandy said. I thought she was just being dramatic. But she's not okay, Sarah. She's obsessed. And she's dragging Dad down with her. I stared at the folder. My hands were shaking. Would you testify? I asked quietly. Mandy nodded. Yes. I should have done something sooner. I thanked her and left the diner with the folder clutched to my chest like a lifeline. We had a weapon now. Evidence. But the battle wasn't over. The court date was still weeks away. Diane was still spreading lies. Jake was unraveling a little more each day. And I was holding us both together with sheer willpower. But I wasn't giving up. Not now. They wanted control? They were about to see what it looked like when the person they underestimated the most, me, fought back with everything she had. The folder Mandy gave me changed everything. I spent the next few days going over every page. There were hundreds of notes, some typed, some handwritten. There were emails between Diane and a family friend who was a lawyer, talking about building a case against Jake. There were screenshots of my social media posts, highlighted with notes like, irresponsible, influencing Jake to make poor choices. She had even printed out our wedding announcement and written, mistake, across it in red marker. I showed the whole thing to Susan, our lawyer. Her eyes got wide as she flipped through it. This is gold, she said. It proves she's been planning this for years. This wasn't out of concern, it's obsession. This flips the narrative. I felt some relief. But it didn't last long. Because 2 days later, Child Protective Services showed up at our door. Yeah, CPS. They got an anonymous tip that our daughter Lily was being emotionally neglected. The social worker was professional, polite, but the moment I heard the words, I felt something snap inside me. My hands started shaking. I could barely hold it together as she walked through our house, checking everything: Lily's room, the fridge, the bathroom. Jake sat on the couch, stone still, holding Lily tight like she was a shield. When the visit ended, the social worker assured us that nothing looked concerning. But she had to file the report, and we'd be monitored for a while. Just in case. As soon as she left, I locked the front door, closed all the blinds, and sat on the floor with my head in my hands. They're trying to break us, I whispered. They're trying to make us fall apart. Jake didn't say anything. He just stared at the door like he was waiting for someone else to come in. We knew who called. No one else would. It was Diane. Again. This wasn't just about financial control anymore. This was scorched earth. So I did what I should have done a long time ago. I called my brother. Now, my brother Leo is one of those guys who keeps his head down. He's a quiet, private guy who works in cybersecurity for a bank in Chicago. We hadn't talked much since he moved away, but I knew if anyone could help us dig deeper, it was him. I told him everything. Every last detail. He didn't even hesitate. Send me whatever you have, he said. I'll find out what she's been doing. Within a week, Leo had uncovered a lot. Diane had been logging into Jake's old email account, one he forgot even existed. She guessed the password, because of course she did. It was his childhood pet's name, which she helped name. She was reading old bank notifications, newsletters, even emails between Jake and his therapist from a few years ago. She wasn't just nosy. She was collecting dirt. Leo also found something else, emails between Diane and Robert, discussing transferring money from one of Jake's old joint accounts with his dad. Money that was supposed to be closed out. Except it wasn't. They had quietly kept it open, and she'd been siphoning money from it. When I told Jake, he looked like someone had pulled the floor out from under him. He told me he closed that account when I got married, Jake whispered. I nodded. He lied. They both did. We gave it all to Susan. Now, instead of just defending ourselves, we had leverage. Solid, hard proof. Not just weird behavior, but actual fraud. It changed the legal tone completely. Susan filed a motion for a restraining order and temporary no-contact order. Not just against Diane, but Robert too. When the paperwork was served, Diane lost her mind. She started calling from burner numbers, leaving voicemails full of screaming, crying, swearing. She said we were breaking up the family, that we were turning Jake into someone else, that I was poisoning his mind. Classic projection. Pure emotional terrorism. Jake blocked every number. We changed our locks, put up cameras, pulled Lily out of daycare for a few days just to be safe. We were in lockdown. And then another twist. Mandy called again. She was crying. She's trying to get power of attorney over me now, she said. She thinks I betrayed her, and now she's saying I'm unstable. She's telling people I'm on drugs. I've never touched anything like that in my life. My stomach dropped. She's spiraling, Mandy continued. She's not stopping with you. She's turning on everyone. That's when it really hit me. Diane didn't want control. She wanted ownership. Over Jake. Over Mandy. Over anyone who ever said no to her. She wasn't trying to save Jake. She was punishing him. Susan told us to hang tight. The court date was getting closer. We're going to bury them in evidence, she promised. This is no longer just a defense. It's offense now. But things didn't calm down. The pressure just kept building. One night, after putting Lily to bed, I walked into the kitchen and found Jake crying quietly at the table. His hands were shaking, and he had Diane's last voicemail pulled up on his phone. She said I was a mistake, he whispered. She said marrying you was my second one. I knelt down in front of him, grabbed his hands. You're not a mistake. And we're going to end this. Not just for us, but for Lily. He nodded, but his eyes were hollow. And that's when I knew this wasn't just about money or pride or family fights. This was about survival. Emotional, mental, spiritual survival. Diane wanted to break us so she could remake us in her image. But I wasn't going to let her. She started this war. I was going to finish it. The court date finally came. It was a cold, gray morning. Jake wore a black suit. I wore dark blue. We barely said a word on the drive there. My hands were shaking, but not from fear. From rage. 7 years of marriage. Years of disrespect. Forged documents. Lies. A call to CPS. Diane tried to destroy us. And today, she was going to face what she built. When we got to the courthouse, Diane and Robert were already there. Diane was in a beige pantsuit, acting like she was some kind of noble victim. She wouldn't look at us. Robert did, just for a second. His eyes were full of something close to regret, but he didn't say a word. Their lawyer looked nervous. Ours didn't. Court was packed. Friends, extended family, even a few people from our neighborhood. Word had gotten around. The judge was a middle-aged woman. Stern, calm. She asked for opening statements. Diane's lawyer tried the concerned parent angle. He said Jake had been struggling, that Diane only wanted to protect her son and granddaughter. That it was out of love. Then it was our turn. Susan stood up, calm and clear. This is not about love. This is about control. And we're going to show the court just how far this mother has gone to take power that was never hers to begin with. She started showing the forged signature, the hacked email account, the stolen money, the diary entries. Then she dropped the hammer, the CPS call. We had records from the social worker proving it was Diane's number, proving that it was fake, that she tried to weaponize child services against her own son and daughter-in-law. Gasps echoed in the courtroom. Diane's lawyer scrambled. Robert looked like he wanted to melt into the floor. Diane's face was frozen in rage. Then Mandy testified. She told the judge everything. How Diane turned on her. How she threatened to go after her job. How she spread lies to other family members. She doesn't love us, Mandy said, voice breaking. She wants to own us. Jake spoke last. He stood slowly, voice shaking. I loved my mom. I wanted her in my life. I let her control too much for too long because I thought that was love. But it wasn't. It was fear. She tried to break my marriage, take my money, and almost cost me my daughter. He turned to Diane. I forgive you, but I don't want you in my life anymore. I won't let my daughter grow up thinking this kind of love is normal. Diane finally lost it. She jumped up, shouting, "This is her doing," pointing at me. She poisoned him. She took him away from me. He was mine. The bailiff had to escort her out of the courtroom. The judge ruled immediately. Restraining order granted. All lawsuits dismissed. Diane and Robert were ordered to pay all legal fees. They were banned from contacting us, from being near our home, Lily's school, our jobs. No visitation rights. Nothing. And the bank? After seeing the proof, they froze the account and pressed charges for financial fraud. Diane is still under investigation. She might face jail time. It's been a few months now. Jake and I are healing. Slowly, he started therapy again. I stopped double-checking the locks every night. Lily's back in daycare. We have peace now. But here's the truth. I made mistakes too. I stayed quiet too long. I let Diane disrespect me from the start. I let her manipulate Jake, thinking it would pass. I let things slide. And it nearly cost me my marriage. So no, I'm not innocent in all this. I should have stood up sooner. Should have fought harder from the beginning. But I'm not making that mistake again. Family doesn't mean ownership. Love doesn't mean control. And if you try to destroy what I built, I will fight back. And I will win.